Right now is our Cove Base, one of our Cove Base kits. We have two. We have our solid color industrial grade, which comes in a couple of versions. Right now it's our 8000 OverKrete CB. Everything that you need for doing Cove Base, for the most part of the materials, is in this pail. Okay, so you have your blended aggregate, you've got your epoxies, they're all in here. This comes in 11 colors, including that natural, which this one here happens to be gray, I believe. Oh, natural. This one's natural. Okay, so this one does not have any pigment to it, but you can pigment it by adding 2 ounces of our hold it up, of our tin pack. Okay. So you can pre-order this though in color. If you're going to be doing a lot of it for a large job, you can actually go through and order it, but it'd be a special order. The only thing that Blake and Wes stock here will be the natural. But with that, you can get one of the tin packs, add 2 ounces of color to this kit, and you're ready to go. Okay. So besides this kit, you are going to need to be able to mix it. What we are going to use in this case is a duo mixer. Okay, it's by Colamix. A very good, durable, counterclockwise mixers. Does a really good job in mixing mortars together. So what's inside this kit? All right, if we go through and fish through the sand, we're going to find that there's a half-gallon pail of Part A. And then if we fish through some more, we're going to find there is the Part B. Okay. So inside here, what you'll have then is a bucket of silica. And the silica is where the technology is at. It's not just silica of one size, it's a blend. So if I go through and when I start pouring, you'll start seeing, there's actually, if you look at the color, okay, you might be able to see it from that color, that angle, but you'll see darker, larger granules, finer granules, and then from there you'll also start seeing white chunks or white silica. It's very fine material. So if I went through and pulled some of this out and broke it, you'll find it's very, very powdery, and that's silica as well. So, and then there's even another color that's even inside there. So there's multiple blends of silicas inside here. And that blends of silicas is what makes everything compress back together and trowel out really, really well. Industrial grade, you'll use this whenever you're doing a solid color floor, an industrial floor, or even flake floors. And you wanted to do a flake up on the walls, you'd use this first. In the color that your floor base resin is going to be, you'd choose that for this as well. So the way you actually will go through is you'll prep your floor first. Then after the floor is all prepped, you'll lay out your cove strip on the wall. You're going to see that over in the demo section when we go to use it. You put that up whether 4 or 6 inches up from the floor. Depends on what's specified or required. If it's a food processing facility, it's going to be 6 inches minimum. And from there, the radius cove is going to change to actually like a 2-inch radius cove. But for more general purpose areas, it's going to, like in a locker room, wet areas, things like that, may only be 4 inches. And the radius cove, like when you're doing color quartz, is going to be 3/4 or 1 inch. That's the norm. But for industrial, it's not unusual to go to a larger radius up to about a 2-inch. Okay, so I'm going to go through and first mix my Part A. Neutral, so there's no color in it. If this was light gray, medium gray, armor gray, it also comes in black, white, safety yellows. You can get 11 different colors, including the neutral. Again, all that's stocked here though is a neutral. Okay, so now this is our B. I'm going to go through and add our B to it. Before I do, I'm going to open up our pigment. Okay. You do want to mix this with a mixer. This is a brand new kit. I got my pigment mixed. It's ready to use. Okay, I got my A, I got my B. So I'm going to now, since I have everything ready to go, I got my mixing head on it, pouring my B into it. Now this kit is what we call a 40 linear feet of material. Okay, that's assuming you're doing this at 4 inches high, 3/16 thick, with a 1 inch radius. If you change any of that, you're going to change the amount of coverage. That's understood. So if you change it to a 6-inch high, 4-inch, yeah, it's going to be around about 30. It also depends on the radius. That's going to short it. Okay. So if you're going to have, say, a 2-inch radius and a 6-inch high, yeah, you're probably going to be somewhere around 22 feet or so out of that. So you got to calculate that. Thoroughly mix, then you can add your pigment. So now that we've thoroughly mixed this, I'm going to retain a little bit of the epoxy in here because I'm going to use it as a primer. So I'm going to pour the bulk of this in here. Take this, I'll put this on the ground over here. I'll back up a little bit. We're going to add our aggregate to it, and I'm going to use my grinder, my mixer. As what the customer wants. Are they or what the specification or what the code is? Because you also, if you're doing this in a meat packing or processing or any kind of food processing facility or even a brewery, there's generally health code that's going to be involved in this. So you have to determine what that is for the area that you're in. It's probably going to be for any kind of food processing facility or beverage facility. It's going to most likely be 6 inches. Here we're just going to do 4 inches. Okay. So we're going to measure off the bottom of the floor, 4 inches, mark our wall, and then we're going to cut our cove strip. And what the cove strip is a 3/16 little lip, okay, with a plastic edge and a double-sided tape. This makes installation of your cove base very easy. And sometimes if you're doing a decorative quartz cove strip, you might have to use zinc or stainless or even brass. Depends on what the contractor or what the specification is calling for, what the client wants. Do is you can use a laser for that. Okay, that makes things even easier. So you can do complete wall height. Make sure though that if you're going to measure off the bottom of the floor, that the cove is going to be level. Sometimes the floor has pitch to it, and the last thing you want to do is have your cove go down and pitch and come back up. It's got to be level, because in a lot of food processing, including commercial kitchens, they may put panel up on the wall, some FRP or some stainless, things like that, up on the wall, and that cove has got to be level. Try to get in before they're going to put those panelings on, because those panels are actually going to stick off from the wall a good 1/2 inch to 3/4. Okay, so you want to make sure that the height of is level, and try to get in there before those guys, because it's difficult to do it under those panels after the fact. So once you've attached these, and you want to make sure it's flush to the edge with both pieces, okay? Once you attach those, you'll want to protect your wall. So I usually suggest putting blue tape on the wall, okay, above the cove strip to protect it. To prime the bottom side of the cove strip all the way down to the floor, and about 1/4 inch or so of about 1 inch of the floor itself, okay? So when you do it, just get about 1/2 inch off the floor. Now there are times where you're going to have to raise that base off the floor, and if you're going to be putting, say, a 1/4 inch floor on the actual project, well, that cove base cannot be terminating at the floor. It's got to be 1/4 inch high. The way that's normally done is you put a strip that's a 1/4 inch thick, could be a lath strip, whatever, that's going to be along the floor, so that when you're doing your cove, and I'll see if we can find one so I can show you, what you're going to do is trowel it onto that cove strip, or that's lath, so that your floor is actually, or your cove is suspended off the floor. So when you put that 1/4 inch floor, it's level with it. Okay, you'll see what I mean. I'm going to do it with and without, with that 1/4 inch lath strip. Grab 2 2x6s and put one up on the other edge and screw them together. You can create an outside corner. You can create an inside corner. Same way with the 2x6s. You don't have to build this, or build yourself a little wall like this. Okay. So now he's primed it. I'm going to take my mortar mix, my Cove Base mix, and I'm just going to apply it to the wall.
How long is that moldable?
Sorry?
How long is that moldable?
This material you're going to be able to use for a good half hour. All depends on temperature. And you'll notice when I'm putting up, I'm not leaving a whole lot of excess on the wall. Okay, I'm putting enough so it's thick but not too heavy. Okay, I'm also going to leave a little bit on the bottom. All you got to do is scribe it. Okay, so move that down. Some like to use a midget trowel. It's actually the name of this trowel when you go to look it up. Some will like to use this to go first with their trowel over the surface. I personally don't normally do this. Some do. But where this comes in handy when you do that is if you're going to do what's called canned cove. Okay, that cove more commercial industrial is going to be where they do that to the wall, and then they'll just take their trowel and they'll do that to it. That's what's called canned cove. Now, we're not doing that today, but it's a very simple method of protecting a wall. Okay, so now that I've got some material on here, I did go a little thin when I shaved this. There we go. All right, I'm going to take my trowel. I'm making sure there's enough material on the bottom, and I'm going to push in and down as I go forward. But because this is exactly 4 inches, I'm going to tip it up a little bit, and I'm going to pull it out as I'm going forward. Okay, so I'm putting pressure on the wall and pressure down. And before I get to the end, I'm just going to turn and come back. And you can see how easy it just trowels. So this actually, you can see how that looks that way. I'll take a trowel then and clean off the top of my cove strip there. And then on the floor, I will take off the excess. Clean this up as I go, because if you leave it all on your floor after you've ground and prepped it, it's going to stick on there, then you got to grind it off. Okay, so I'll clean that off, and then I'll run through and grab my cove trowel again, and just make sure it's cleaned up. Yes, it does. Okay, so now it's nice feathered edge, and when I go to do my floor, okay, well first, if I'm going to do a flake on this, once this gets hard, I'll put a coat of epoxy on here, or polyurea, and then I'll take my flake and press it on there, let it, and then clean up all the excess off the floor, and then I will start doing my floor. Okay, that's actually how I would do this. But in this case, if I was doing solid color, or if this was a cove kit, I would color quartz kit, I would actually, you'd be done except for your final clear coat over the surface. You'll also notice I didn't spray any additives or trowel aids on this. The technology of this blend of silicas, aggregates, it's designed to compress and allow that trowel to slide right over that surface really, really nicely. Okay. Now, if this was, say I was going to put down a heavier, thicker mortar floor or slurry on the floor, what I would have to do is get a strip that's the same thickness as what the floor is going to be, put it on the floor where, there we go. Can I see that? I would grab my material, and as I was putting it on the wall, I would leave excess on the bottom, and this is mainly for industrial purposes. Okay, I would be troweling it up. So say I was doing a urethane cement slurry or our floor clad. Okay, so I would apply it with this here. I would take my trowel then and come across As such, now obviously, if this is going to be 1/4 inch, I'm going to raise this to 4 1/4, okay, or whatever the height is, because this has to be at the end that height, okay. So now, when I pull this away, now my floor is going to be able to fill in to this level here. Okay, because if you're going to do a 1/4 inch and you needed to have that radius and you filled it up, well, you got rid of your radius. Okay, this is only if you're going to be putting a heavier floor down that's going to be that height. Okay, but in this case, we're not. So, just trawling that out. And the way I'm getting rid of it is by pushing down. Okay, and the reason why you don't want to have excess, because look how many times I've got to go over just to get rid of that. All right, so that's your straight end. That's how you're doing your straight runs. So what do you do when you get to an outside corner? With that, I would continue doing my floor. Oh, the other thing too is as you're doing your straight runs, take a look at them every once in a while to make sure you're not doing this. You're not making it thick and thin, or that you left any lines like that. I see that sometimes on jobs where I'll see a line faint, but I still see the line. All you got to do is go back over it a couple of times. And as you're going to start, don't put a whole lot of pressure in the beginning and then increase your pressure. Okay? So for the outside corners, I'm going to put my material, continue it on this side. And I'm going to go in from the corner and then go back the other way from the corner. So you get a little bit on your, because paste it right on there. Another trick to make it really easy. What's the second cove trowel? Okay. Another trick you can do is take a cove trowel. And by the way, this actually isn't a real cove trowel. This is actually for finishing sidewalks. It's an inside corner. I learned on these. And I found them the easiest to use. Then I start using real cove trowels, and I never really liked them because they're a little bit more difficult. I've always liked this better. Whichever cove trowel you like, try a few different ones. There's several made by different manufacturers. Find what you like. This is the one I like. But when I'm doing outside corners, another trick is to use one trowel and keep it there and then come out to that one. Look how sharp it leaves it. Okay? Really nice end. Some people like to round them off. If you do, it's fine. Okay? It's just extra work. Typically I'll round them off a little bit, and I just messed it up. Depends on what your customer wants sometimes. It's easier if you just leave them sharp. Okay, it just depends on what your customer likes. Easier if you don't give them an option, they just do it the way it says. So now I'm on my inside corner. So what am I going to do with my inside corner? Let's turn this a little bit. Okay, so we can go see this. So my inside corners are a little bit different. Okay. I'm going to put my material up on the wall. That's normal. I'm going to use cove strip, which is actually, this is good to go through that. I would go through and put a piece of blue tape at my height and a piece of filament tape on top of that blue tape. Make sure it's right on the edge. You can do it with that way, or you can also get cove trowels that have a J, it's called, or a curved edge on it, so that you're actually just coving it out without any actual cove strip. The trowel is made to leave that thickness. Okay, but we're going to go through and use it without it because my corner is messed up. I'm sure the wall is messed up there. We'll try to make this as clean as possible. Okay, so I'm going to go from the inside out, and then from the inside out the other way. Okay, see how that is? Going from the out there. I'm going to clean up my floor. I hate corner because you can't leave it like that. I'm going to take a spoon, just to fix that inside corner. And for getting that inside edge, the little espresso spoons, they work really well. I've used those. You can also just use your finger to round it off. Jeff went to go get me some solvent so I can put it on my finger just to go up that center. Don't leave it thick like that either, because if you're doing a thin mill floor, you're going to see that ridge. I like to take it out to nothing. So the way I just do is put more pressure down. See how thin that made it? Okay. So I'll just touch it up a little bit. Okay, the time that you spend on your inside and outside corners is going to be very important, because that's going to really set your job off. If you do a good job on your outside corners, inside corners, that's going to set your work apart, because a lot of guys will leave them sloppy, or they'll have waves, or they'll have trawl marks. Do a good job as far as, and the quality of your floor is going to make it so much look so much better.
You leave it at the bottom.
Well, at the bottom, I'd like to feather out to nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. If I'm doing a thin mill floor, I'm going to taper this out to nothing. Okay. Because if you leave a lip, you're going to see that, because you're only going to put, say, 30 mil floor. Well, that's still very, very thin. You want that feathered. And when I go to coat my floor, I'm going to take when I go to actually do the floor, I'm going to take my chip brush, and I'll come in halfway into the radius, like right there, with my chip brush, and then I'll broadcast my floor, then I'll scrape my walls if I did that with flake, and then I'll scrape the floor. And you won't see that transition. Okay?
Does it break very easy?
This break? No, this is very durable. Yeah, it actually makes the wall more durable, because you made an epoxy mortar out of this. And as long as you make it like 3/16 of an inch thick, it's a good durable floor.
It's flexible too?
No, this is not flexible. This is rigid. And the purpose of this is to keep water, chemicals, and so forth from getting under the floor and the baseboard. Because if you use regular vinyl base or any other type of base, it's not part of the floor. It's not integral to the floor. This way, the floor actually goes right up the actual wall. So now when I go to clear coat, I'm going to put a clear on the base and on the floor all at the same time. And as you're doing that, make sure that you're careful to remove any of the excess resin that flows down off the wall. You got to get that off from around the edge. That's another thing that I notice on a lot of floors when they have this, is they got a pool of resin by there. It's because they did the cove, they cleared it, and then they didn't pull all that excess as they were doing the floor.
Work in the sheetrock?
Sorry? Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. Just make sure if you're going to do if you're going to go over drywall, sheetrock, have the drywall wall primed. Otherwise, all your resin is going to keep sucking in. Just see if you can get in there, prime the floor. And while if it's a commercial job, tell them to protect the floor, because if it's a brand new job, you shouldn't have to be taking paint off the floor. Okay, because it does take extra work.
Really well to metal kitchens?
Yeah, just sand. If you have stainless walls, measure up, and then you have to scuff that stainless. Depending on the finish, the wall you may have, we may have you prime the bottom with a different metal, with a direct metal primer. But this cove base, if you're putting it up thick enough, it's generally okay. But it will stick. Okay. Like I said, we do have primers for metal depending on the situation.